Wow, if that didn't leave you exhausted in more ways than one, you may need to have your pulse checked. Hello everyone, welcome to a wrestling review here on the CC Network. I am Freddie Thomas, your ever reliable host as always, and of course you wouldn't be here if you weren't ready to check out my opinions on Wrestlemania 32, the event we'll be reviewing today. And, well, it's an interesting WrestleMania to look at, really, because after the last two were barnstorming successes, this WrestleMania kinda didn't live up to those expectations. Many were expecting it, but I didn't think it would hit the ground so hard, considering the card had potential to be good. This was a WrestleMania that lasted 5 hours, and honestly, in an annoyance on my end that absolutely pissed me off, I only got one match prediction correct. Yes, on the biggest card of the whole damn year, I only got one match prediction right, and that's discounting the unannounced match we will get to later. The Usos versus the Dudley Boys was the only match I predicted right, and I feel really irritated because I thought that I'd managed to get all the storylines planned out properly and thought, you know what, all of these winners are perfect for the progression of the storylines, the character, and the future of this company going forward. And you know what? Vince McMahon decided to stick his middle fingers up at me and say, haha, you want some shocks and surprises? We'll give you some shocks and surprises. Well, in doing that, you may have made this WrestleMania a little worse than it ever could be. Looking back on those pre-show matches, we had 3 of them, which is nice to see, and of course, I've already mentioned one of them, the Usos defeating the Dudley Boys, which of course led to a table spot following it. We had Team Total Divas, or Team Bella, or whatever the tag name is, defeating Team Bad and Blonde in that 10 Diva tag match, and of course, we saw Kalisto defending the US Championship against Ryback. And the thing is, I'm still irritated that was on the pre-show, but meh, it happens. Nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into this card because we have a lot to talk about here. This event, I will say, from an entertainment standpoint, had it pretty much covered, and we'll see how that went right now. So the first of all the main card matches that I got wrong, we had Zack Ryder. Yes, you heard me. Zack Ryder defeating Kevin Owens, Stardust, The Miz, Sin Cara, Dolph Ziggler, and Sami Zayn in a 7-man ladder match to win the Intercontinental Championship. I know, even I can't believe it either. What a way to kick off this event with a match that was surprisingly great and a result that made everyone lose their shit. Ryder got over. I don't even need to do the rest of my video series now, do I? Because Ryder got over. At WrestleMania of all places, it's insane. Anyway, looking at this match from the psychology standpoint, I have to give credit where credit is due because this match's story all faced around Owens and Zayn. And I'm happy it did. I know that everyone went for a ladder while Owens stayed in the ring was a lovely way to kick it off, meaning that, yeah, he's the lone wolf fighting to keep that championship. Good symbolism there. Owens and Zayn brawled out in the ring to begin with. Then we had Ziggler and Owens going for a super kick, both knowing each other so well that they technically had to stop and without hitting each other. It was lovely. And overall, the match came off well through this fight between Owens and Zayn. Going for missing the Helluva kick, obviously, and Owens, I will get to this in a bit, but he hit a frog splash off the top rope onto a ladder and then sold his arm beautifully for the rest of the match following it, and you can't go wrong with that. And Ryder selling his back, climbing up the ladder, showing the punishment, which is the one thing I love from a ladder match. If you're going to have a ladder match, sell the damn thing. And all these guys were doing just that and then some, especially with Ziggler limping on one leg up the ladder as well. Owens and Zayn brawling on the top of the ladder with a thumb to the eye to take Zayn off was great. And then, of course, oh boy, that dragon suplex through the ladder. Wow, Owens sold that like a boss. Like a boss. And of course, Ryder winning added an extra twist to the story, considering that he didn't end up being in this match until Neville got injured. And they've given him the belt. I can't really believe it, and this is just what's happening. Overall, I could have used a little more body selling from a variety of people, and I know they did their best, especially with Stardust. The amount of pain on his face from that splash through the ladder by Sin Cara, that looked real pain. Not, oh god, I'm overselling because I know it's painful thing. I mean legit pain. He looked like he'd broken a rib or something. But nonetheless, I felt that they could have left everyone out of the ring and had Zayn and Owens brawl for quite a while, hit a massive pop-up powerbomb spot off the top to instigate the rivalry. Hell, even have Zayn look like a credible threat hitting a haluva kick or two. At least showing that intensity more would have been great, but they had to split the time to everyone else, and it obviously lessened as a result. The move variety was a 4.5, and you know why, because oh my god, the amount of moves we had here was insane. A neckbreaker counter on the ladder by Ryder, which was fantastic. A plancher through the ladder by Zayn. Honestly fantastic. A springboard plancher off the ladder onto the ropes into the sea of people by Sin Cara. We aren't going to call him Botch Cara anymore because he actually managed to pull that off. Well done, Sin Cara. We had a super kick off the top rope to Ziggler, by Ziggler to, I believe, Owens or Miz, which was great. The skull crushing finale to the ladder for Stardust by Miz, which looked quite sick. Actually, a lot of the bumps that Stardust took were quite awful. The Fisherman Buster to the knee. Now, I know I've seen that before, but it's been a while. Usually we see one from the top rope by Owens, and it loses its appeal. Well, yeah. Owens hit a Fisherman Buster with the head straight to the knee. After the beating that Zayn took in the week against Shinsuke Nakamura, I can honestly say that was needed. Holy crap, that's fantastic. The frog splash... yeah, I don't even need to say, I've already mentioned it, haven't I? Ryder then hit the elbow drop from the top of the damn ladder. I mean, this was insane. Then we had a catching pop-off powerbomb off the ladder by Owens, which was fantastic. Owens pushing Sin Cara off the ladder. Of course, I've already mentioned Stardust. Sold that like a boss. A brilliant spot. And, of course, the Dragon Suplex. This match had great moves and stuff that I never usually see in a ladder match out its arse. I know I've always said in the past that... these ladder matches always find a difficult time to add something new to the table, because every time they happen, they need to up different ways of making new moves and new spectacles. They did it here. They did it here, they did it in the TLC Triple Threat Tag match back in December. These ladder matches, at least they can still make them as entertaining as hell without going crazy. And the crowd. Oh yeah, the crowd were into this, and you have no idea. 4.5, they were into every single spot, popping incredibly for those. And of course, they booed the crap out of The Miz. I understand that at some points, little times they were not really that into it, and the shock of Ryder winning was a bit of a surprise for them. They didn't really know how to react at all. It was kind of funny. But overall, it was just a little subpar on that. I have to say, it could have been a little bit better in the middle point where they weren't entirely sure who was going to win. It's Ziggler going for the belt. No one really gave a damn. But this is just the thing. No one really gives a damn about Ziggler anymore anyway, given his recent run of form. I should know, because his mic work has been the only good thing he's had in over a year's worth of action. Anyway, away from this, let's look at the timing and the match and the pacing. Ugh, all's good. This... I have to give credit, was a 3.5, and the match actually went a good 15 minutes and 30 seconds. It was surprisingly lengthy. Obviously, these ladder matches are going to be long. I felt that was just the right amount of time, and it wasn't too bad. In regards to the pacing, it was frantic to begin with, and overall momentum was shifting ridiculously quickly. And overall, it didn't slow down for the first, I would say, 8 minutes, and I felt that it hurt the match slightly because they weren't selling a lot of the pain until the last 5 to 6 minutes, and I felt overall that it kind of lessened the impact of the match. But then once everyone started realizing, oh dear god, I need to start selling this, it worked out quite nicely because they were selling the punishment to compensate for the lack of pacing consistency here. And that's why I got a 3.5, because even though the timing was pretty much perfect in terms of how long the match was, I have to mark it down for that. But it did decent otherwise. And, of course, my enjoyment rating is a 4.5. Look at this thing. I mean, Stardust taking out a polka dot ladder for Dusty was the main highlight of a mark-out moment, along with Ryder winning the damn thing, and it was just fantastic. I've got to give credit to Stardust there. But overall, this match, for me, controversially, is the best match of the night. Yeah, I'm going to get a lot of hate comments from a lot of people, but this was the best thing. And I know I always say that if a match is the best match of the night in the opening contest, you know it's only going to be downhill from here, right? Well, this match did a damn good job. I wasn't too sure what to rate it at first, but looking at the ratings I've given, this match is a very respectable 4.25 stars. This was a very fun spot fest that kept me on the edge of my seat, and it proved to tell me that ladder matches aren't necessarily going to get stale if they keep coming up with fantastic ways to utilize that ladder. This was better than last year's ladder match. That was I think that was about 3.5 star, I think, because it definitely didn't have the spots this one had to really amplify it. And also it didn't have the story of two wrestlers wanting to kill each other in there, which came through lovingly too. And the thing is, yeah, this was brilliant. It was definitely quality of the highest regard for a ladder match spot fest, and what a way to kick off the show. Sadly, even though they tried, this is the highest this event would get. Next, Chris Jericho defeated AJ Styles. Yeah. I know, I've heard the tweets, I've heard the Facebook statuses highlighting they didn't let Sting win at his first WrestleMania. Why would they let AJ Styles, the king of TNA, win? It kind of makes sense when I look back at those and think, that's actually a good point. They wouldn't. But nonetheless, it was a pretty solid match. A 3.5 for the psychology, because I did say they needed to amplify Jericho's intensity, Jericho's desire to win. And boy, they did. As both men grappled off the bell, showing that intensity, Jericho, he did all he could to show himself to be a massive dick. And I love it, because I was thinking the crowd would cheer Jericho and cheer Styles, but they proved they know how storylines work and proceeded to follow the alignment line well, because he was taunting off his first move in an apparent showing of superiority. Styles fought back immediately, which was lovely. Jericho telling Cole to shut up midway as he was passing through the table, and both men ended up countering springboard rope moves because both of them know each other so well because they were tag team partners recently. I mean, come on. This is great storytelling here, even though there isn't that much body selling, which is the one thing I think this match had a problem with. Nonetheless, Jericho using a taunting pin cover, fantastic. And arguably the best commentary call of the night in regards to story came from Byron Saxton, if you can believe it, highlighting that the fans have the right to cheer for whoever the hell they want, with JBL retorting back that Jericho has the right to be upset about it. It's true, because if you were in a match and the people weren't chanting your name, you'd be pretty pissed as well. Then again, if you're a heel, it's your job to make people not chant your name, or if they are going to, they're going to throw insults at you because that's what comes with the territory. Nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, then we have a great counter off the facebuster by Styles, which inevitably highlighted his ability to get past Jericho's moves, which is good, because no one counters that leaping bulldog, one-handed bulldog facebuster, do they? Jericho slapped Styles on the top rope, and I will give credit off that top rope facebuster for Jericho selling that arm like a boss, and it was good to see. Jericho countered the Styles clash, everybody. Yeah. I know, and Styles kicked out of the code breaker, which means, again, these two know each other so well, they know how to put the right amount of endurance in to kick out of each other's respective finishes. Lovely. And Jericho, he's selling the shock like a boss, slapping AJ's head in frustration as the crowd chant for AJ Styles. This was what the match was building to, and you can't go wrong. Jericho attempted the Styles clash, obviously, which is another good piece of psychology there, and Jericho kicked out of AJ doing one himself. I'm loving the fact that we don't really see the Styles clash until this match. It was good to see. And both men, they're just countering moves so easily and so crisply that I'm thinking to myself, yeah, it's going to take something special to take both of these guys out. And I'm loving the chemistry because they know each other so well. And Jericho won off the forearm into a code breaker. He saw it coming, he knew, unlike last time, he knew what to do, and he hit the code breaker and won the thing. So the psychology of this match was actually pretty damn good. Even though I would have liked some more body selling, but the facial reactions did enough there, along with the great little elements of storytelling throughout that did a good job. Then we get to the move variety, a 2.5, and for me, there were a few that made me mark out. A drop kick off the crossbody by Jericho was a bit of a sick bump to take. The neck breaker off the second rope by to the second rope, by Jericho was lovely. A corkscrew elbow by Jericho, because I don't see that often from him. Tell me if I'm wrong. Seriously. A springboard reverse DDT that we've seen from AJ wasn't crisply executed, so it looked a little sloppy. I've got to take a little bit of a point off there. A facebuster off by Styles was nice, and of course, I love this move, the wheelbarrow facebuster. Come on, if you don't like that, something has got to be wrong with you. The springboard 450, I mean, you can't say much more, can you? And of course, the springboard forearm being counted into a code breaker was great. I felt in a way they didn't overdo the big spots. They did just enough to make the match feel different from the previous match at Fastlane. And they did that job pretty damn well, if I dare say so myself. The crowd reaction was a 3.5 as well, and overall it's mostly because, well, Jericho got rightly booed by the heel smart fans. And that's a good thing. The smart fans did the right job, as I've already mentioned, and I will give credit for them being consistently into it despite a lull with the technical mat-based work that Jericho was doing to wear down Styles. If it wasn't for that, this crowd would have gone into 4 territory because it was getting pretty hot right at its finish, and then it kind of dissipated, obviously, once the match finished, and it felt like it came out of the blue. But inevitably, they did a good job there. Match length and pacing was a 3. Now, it's mostly because the momentum shifted fluidly early on, which was good, and the pace honestly slowed quite a bit, and it made this match feel a little bit tiresome. It just felt like it was plodding along at times until it really amped up towards the end. Because these guys weren't selling the punishment. They were selling the antagonism, but not the punishment of the big moves they were hitting. And I felt that overall, as the 17 minutes this got, which was arguably the right amount of time, wasn't what I expected. It came out of the blue that this match went on a little too long for me. It could have been paced a little better, and overall could have gone at least a couple minutes shorter, but it was relatively good, considering what they put in, I've got to say. And as you can see, my enjoyment was a pretty good factor of a 3.5. It was a fun match, because the thing is, I had to base this on the last match they had at Fastlane. That match was a 3 3/4 star. Was this as good as that one? Not really. It was just under it, mostly because the wrong guy won, in this humble reviewer's opinion. But the thing is, the match was a little slower, it had more big spots substituting for a little more psychology, and inevitably the crowd were into it, but not as into it as I expected like they were the first time round. The match was solid, and I'm going to give it a 3 1/4 star rating, because it was a pretty good match to follow that ladder match. I thought they would put on the New Day versus League of Nations afterwards, but then again I thought, you know what, in the way the card's going, Styles versus Jericho would have been great to continue the fan reaction going forward. So a 3 1/4 star rating isn't bad, is it? I mean, we've had a 4 star and a 3 star, it couldn't possibly get any better. Well, we'll have to wait and see. Now, we get to the 4-on-3 handicap match in which the League of Nations defeated the New Day, and why didn't they make this for the tag titles if they were going to have the League of Nations win anyway? Yeah, that's, yeah. That just seemed a bit wrong to me, but that's just my opinion. Anyway, the psychology was a 1.5. I felt the New Day being in control from the bell, asserting their dominance as tag team champions, was amazing. You can't go wrong about that. Del Rio throttling Woods with the League of Nations, destroying him as Big E can't get in because the referee was being, well, a stickler by following the rules. The New Day sucks chant as Sheamus beat Woods' chest in was pretty damn fantastic, you can't deny. And of course, Xavier Woods selling the bro kick like an absolute boss to allow the League of Nations to get the win. I have to admit, Xavier Woods got beaten most of this matchup, and it was progressively building towards a hot tag finish, but I wasn't expecting the League of Nations to win. So it came as a bit of a shock to me when that did happen, but I'll give Xavier Woods credit for making that bro kick look deadly. The move variety was a 1.5, and I will give Rusev credit for running around the ring to super kick Big E. For no legit reason, he stood there thinking, fuck it, I'll run round, kick the guy in the face to stop him from coming in. Well done, sir. And overall, there were a few other good moves here, especially the running double stomps by Kofi, which was lovely. A double boom drop was good too. Of course, the overhead belly-to-bellies, you can't go wrong with how fun they are from Big E. But a belly-to-belly over the top rope to Rusev did actually botch because it wasn't cleanly executed over the top. Not liking that. The double stomp backbreaker off the top rope by Sheamus and Kofi was to Sheamus by Kofi and Xavier was great. And the double stomp off of the apron by Del Rio. You couldn't have found another reason to make that move any more dangerous. You found a way. Overall, these moves were pretty solid, but they were ones I've seen before, just amped up a little bit in the most part. Rusev running around the ring and super kicking Big E in the face, and that double stomp were probably the only real reasons to give this a 1.5. I could have amped it a little bit more, but maybe I just liked the moves enough to note them down, but maybe not enough to sway my rating a little bit. The crowd reaction, again a 1.5. The crowd were into the New Day when they were attacking, but when they weren't, the crowd were very apathetic and very, very quiet, and I felt that kind of killed the match a little bit, because the one thing the New Day is known for, obviously, is getting the crowd into their match. They did it in the beginning, doing the Unicorn Stampede, with the trombone in sync, mind you, which was fine. But then the rest of it, you think, it kind of lost its flavour because they weren't really going crazy with it. I would have liked Rusev to have destroyed Francesca to get the crowd really booing, but inevitably that didn't happen, so there we go. It was a match that the crowd weren't really involved with, but then again, they didn't see the finish coming, so that shocked them enough. Then we get to the match length and pacing, which was a 2, and I will give this match some credit for lasting a little longer than I thought, at 10 minutes. And I'm just looking here, this wasn't actually a 4-on-3 handicap match. This was actually a 6-person tag, because King Barrett wasn't involved at all. Yeah. Not what I expected either. And the thing is, 10 minutes was a little too long for this match, in my opinion, despite not much going on in the first place. I mean, overall, it was slow-paced early on. It didn't look like it was being picked up until Woods was stopped being beaten on, and that was basically the story of the whole match. Momentum shifted when Kofi came in, with much more fluid movement, and the teams were selling the punishment, so the slow pacing didn't prove to be too tiresome, but seriously, the match felt laboured for a 10-minute match, and it didn't really come across as that entertaining either. So what more can I say? Especially when it comes to my enjoyment. As you can see, 1.5. The only reason that was a 1.5, ladies and gentlemen, is the entrance. New Day, bursting out of a box of bootios, dressed as Saiyans from Dragon Ball Z, especially Xavier Woods as Vegeta. Oh my god, that alone got this match off to a brilliant start. I just wished it maintained momentum up until that point. I will give the guys credit, it was an okay-ish meh match that did something surprising and had an entrance that was great. It slowly was building but didn't have enough entertainment to really justify itself, but I will give the match the benefit of the doubt. It was on the big stage, and if King Barrett had actually gotten involved, maybe it would have been better. But overall, it was a solid but only just 1-star rating. It was a lot less than what I thought it was going to be, and with the wrong people winning, in my opinion, it didn't really play out. Sure, we got a great showdown from Austin, HBK, and Mick Foley afterwards, but you know me, that doesn't factor into the match rating, even no matter how fantastic it was, especially knowing that Xavier Woods got a stunner because Stone Cold is Stone Cold, but nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, I expected a little more from this match, and sadly, it was not delivered here. Next, we have the street fight, in which Brock Lesnar defeated Dean Ambrose. This, I have to admit, going in I thought would be the match of the night. It would be the show stealer. From the moment this match entered through and then by the time it finished, I immediately realised WWE had got their timings wrong completely on this one. Ladies and gentlemen, the psychology was a 2.5. Of course, Lesnar storming out of the gate, hitting suplexes 3, but of course a kendo stick hit Ambrose back into control. And even after taking multiple suplexes, I loved this, Ambrose just sat there looking at Lesnar going, well, really? Is that all you got? And inevitably, I found that fantastic because it showed that, yeah, Ambrose doesn't give a damn. And inevitably, Lesnar just wanted to kick the crap out of him some more suplexes, and inevitably stamping the kendo stick down, crushing Ambrose's fingers, showing his signifying dominance. Love that as well. Ambrose slapped Lesnar. of course, which means inevitably you're asking for a death wish. And Lesnar put the kendo stick down, taunting Ambrose in the corner, looking at him going, come on, man. You gotta crawl to your weapon. You wanna fight me? You gotta crawl, because I am bigger and better than you. Do not deny it. And then he low blows him, because Ambrose is a face who can act like a heel and get away with it, because he is Dean frickin' Ambrose. The psychology was going quite nicely here, and Ambrose equalised with that low blow. It was quite fantastic. Ambrose went to get the chainsaw but didn't get to use it. He didn't get to use the barbed wire baseball bat either, and that was really disappointing considering how much of the build-up was based on those weapons. And, okay, he hit a fire extinguisher, hit those chairs into the ring, and Ambrose went nuts on it, but overall, inevitably, it was annoying because this match should have been bloody, it should have been aggressive, more so than this. I felt that they needed to do a lot more, especially with showing that Lesnar landed that German suplex spot on the chairs. He's the one who landed it, so maybe he should have shown more damage. Ambrose, for me, didn't get a lot of big offense in. I know in previous Ambrose matches we've seen him only rely on big moves to put his opponent away, like Kevin Owens at the Rumble, for example, but that worked in the favour that Owens was at least fighting back with similar offense. In the case here, Ambrose really didn't get that much in, and it was annoying because his resilience came through great, but I felt the match needed more from him, and it didn't. And I'm a little bit depressed with that, and that's why the rating is a bit low, especially considering the body selling wasn't done well at all, there was no blood, as I've mentioned. It should have been a lot more than this, for sure. Honestly. Move variety was a 2. Now, there was an overhead belly to belly off the top rope by Lesnar, which I loved. A drop kicking the chair into the turnbuckle by Ambrose was lovely, because I haven't seen that in a while. A chair elbow by Ambrose never gets old. The German suplex spot, as I mentioned, botched as Lesnar landed on the chairs anyway. The dirty deeds to the chairs was okay. And the German on the chairs finally hits, and then the F5 on the damn chairs. Lovely way to end it, but again, it was anticlimactic, so what more can I say? The crowd reaction was a solid 2 as well. I felt that they were into it. Of course, they would be kind of silent, chanting Suplex City, with Lesnar destroying Ambrose as usual. But then once Ambrose got on the offensive, the crowd were just silently waiting, while also popping. I mean, they popped for the occasional bits of attack that Ambrose got, but they were silently waiting for the chainsaw, for the barbed wire baseball bat to come into effect, and they didn't. And they made themselves noted by being quiet for a good portion of the match following it, and it wasn't good. Ladies and gentlemen, the pacing. Now, I'm going to give credit to the methodical pace with momentum shifting between both men as Ambrose doesn't give way. I will give credit where it's due there, because that's exactly what you need for a Brock Lesnar match, a violent match at that. But the thing is, ladies and gentlemen, this match ended way too early. At just over 12 or 13 minutes, this should have gone at least another 10. This should have had time to build, because by the time Lesnar hit that F5 on the chairs, I thought, oh god, he's going to kick out, he's going to spit in Lesnar's face, he's going to show how much of an absolute badass he is, and then we're going to get some really violent stuff. We got none of it. And the match felt disappointing as a result, because I was thinking, come on, these two, one of these guys, wrestled Taker in Hell in a Cell and made him bleed like a motherfucker in 2 different occasions, mind you. He has gone through people, busting them open. He busted Cena open with 1 punch 4 years ago. He couldn't bust Ambrose open, a guy who's had his head sawn open in CZW. I mean, come on. I would have expected so much more. They ended this match so early. It killed all of its momentum right when I thought it was going to crescendo into a great middle to end section. And it was disappointing. It really was. And on that front, this match really did not live up to my expectations. It had some good moments, had its time, but the match didn't live up to any expectations I had going in, and it gets a not very respectable, for this match anyway, 2-star rating. It was nothing near what I expected. I wanted this match to get 3, possibly 4 stars, and it would have needed to have gone on for 10 minutes more with much more action to be able to let it happen, especially considering the wrong guy won, because Lesnar didn't need to win. He didn't. He could have easily gotten his revenge on Raw, and that would have been fine, but seriously, this match was a letdown, and that's saying something, because I expected this match to be a lot more than this. Next, we have a match to crown a brand new WWE Women's Champion. That is right, if you didn't watch the pre-show or you just got the notification later on in the night, they've retired the Divas Championship and replaced it with the Women's Championship. Yeah, that was fantastic. I will tip my hat off. You've done a good job there, WWE. And in the match to crown, or in one case keep, the championship, Charlotte defeated Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch in a decent and pretty good triple threat match. And honestly, once again, I got it wrong because I immediately thought Sasha Banks would win, but she came out to the ring with Snoop Dogg and her entrance theme being performed. So the minute that happened, I immediately knew I was going to lose this. I knew I was going to lose it because, as you know, if you're played to the ring, you are not going to win. Simple. Ladies and gentlemen, the psychology got a 3 because both Sasha and Becky went after Charlotte straight away, which is lovely. Ric Flair trying to help Charlotte but couldn't do anything because the referee's insistence was good. Working of the arm from Becky prevented her from putting the figure 8 in properly, which I loved the fact it delayed itself time to sell it, which was good. Becky showed smooth movement on her move arsenal, highlighting that she's not the weak link, but noting that Sasha and Charlotte are very skilled. Becky says, hey, I'm moving smoothly, I'm hitting with counters everywhere I can, because I am worth being in this spot, damn it. Good piece of storytelling for something that I really wasn't picking up on. Becky took Ric Flair out with a suicide dive to a massive pop, which was great. The women are all putting out big moves, and I'll get to those in a bit, to show that this match on the big stage is worth it, because it matters, everybody, that's for sure. And Charlotte, well, her facial reactions on showing that she couldn't get the pin on both women was lovely. Then we had a brilliant section. Up until that point, the psychology was slowly building. Then we had Becky working the arm of Charlotte with the disarmer. Sasha then hit the bank statement off the disarmer. Charlotte then hit the figure 4 off the bank statement. I mean, all 3 women just thought, you know what, I'm going to target a body part, I might as well hit in our finishes, one after the other, submission to submission. What a brilliant sequence that was. Then the women all chopped out and beat each other up to nice pops. The thing is, this match only got its little crescendo at the end through Ric Flair stopping Sasha Banks, breaking up the submission that allowed Becky to tap and give Charlotte the victory. It needed to happen. I'm waiting for a steel cage match. This has to happen right now. A steel cage match against Charlotte for the championship at the next pay-per-view must happen now, because I'm getting a little sick of Flair doing this, but at least he's done it different ways each time in each match, so I'll give him credit where credit is due there. But overall, I could have done with a little more selling overall, because it took some time to really come through and the punishment wasn't showing despite all these big moves. But 3.5 for a women's match ain't damn bad, that is for sure. Move variety was a 3, and we had some big ones here. A top rope sunset flip was botched by Sasha, though. That was a bit rubbish, to be honest, and I know I'm being cruel, but when there is a botch, it doesn't reflect likely, I can say. The frog splash to break up the figure 8, though. Whew, Sasha definitely managed to recoup herself there. The pump handle slam variant by Becky was nice. A suicide dive into a plancha mid-air by Sasha was fantastic. Charlotte broke out a moonsault from the top rope to the outside, again brilliant. And of course, a double throwback by Charlotte never stops looking deadly. I can't remember if it was like the generational, whatever it was. I can't remember the natural selection, whatever the term of the no move is. Doing 2 of those at once, I'll give credit. The electric chair dropkick by Sasha and Becky was a little sloppy on execution, but I'll give it credit for the death-defying nation of it. And the spear by Charlotte with authority was quite lovely. There was enough big moves here to not take away from the mat action they were trying to do, but I'll give credit where it's due. I mentioned last time that Charlotte's matches are becoming very similar because all she does is mat until the end where she tries to hit some psychology in to go for another submission move. It's becoming a little boring and flat. They definitely amped that up here, and I loved it because of it. Then the crowd, which is a 3, because I thought that they were respecting the match. They were kind of being diligent and respectful. They were wanting to show their appreciation but not get too rowdy. I don't know if the WWE turned the mics down on this one, but inevitably the crowd didn't really pop until Flair got taken out, and then the big moves started coming in full and proper. That's when they started picking up, and by the time the match ended, they were inevitably suspecting it was going to come to a finish when Charlotte kept getting the offense and kept looking fantastic, because they weren't going to take the belt off her, would they, if they were going to crown a new women's champion? I don't know, it just seemed a bit off to me. But the crowd did pop nicely for it, even though I think they wanted Sasha to win, as did I, so it came across as a bit deflated. Then we get to the match length and pacing, which was a 3. Looking at where this match faced on the timing, it was 16 minutes, and for a triple threat match, I've got to say that was pretty solid, to be honest. It was pretty good. Overall, the pace was quick, which I have to give credit for. These women know how to do that. But I felt it was a little quick too early on, which made the moves look very sloppy in their execution. They weren't being executed crisply with enough finesse, and I felt overall that brought the match down in its early goings, in the first 5, 6, 7 minutes or so. I felt that the match wasn't living up to any expectations. Once they slowed it down and realised what spots they were doing, that's when it started getting into gear, and it proved better. And the multiple quick falls gave the match a lot of drama later on when all the submissions were being planted in, and of course the shock from Charlotte proving it. But early on, those early falls just seemed pointless. They're trying to show that they're quick, agile, and can be active quickly in any situation, but it didn't do much for me. And overall, the momentum shifting regularly was great, but I felt overall it was too frequent. Like I've said, people may mark this match as being great for having all the people continuously trying to fight each other. But in a triple threat match, when you're trying to pace things out over time, you can't just have the wrestlers going at each other constantly and without showing any signs of weakness and punishment as it goes on. They did, because those submission moves did the job, but I felt that it needed to be a little slower just to make it better. But you guys may hate me for it. I felt 16 minutes was a little too long. A little too long. They could have made it a little longer if they spaced out the bigger spots a bit more, had Flair be ejected, and have a real massive submission down between Banks and Charlotte later on, but they did it earlier on anyway, and it wasn't a problem. But a 3, it could have been better. And the thing is, this match, I know I'm going to get a lot of crap from people. It was a great match. I am not going to deny it, because it's above average in my rating scale. And the thing is, comparing that to the last women's match that got the best rating ever at WrestleMania, I'm looking through all the WrestleManias as part of some bigger project at the moment. And the only women's match that has gotten anywhere close to what rating I'm about to give this match was Trish versus Mickie from WrestleMania 22 10 years ago. That got a 2-star rating. This match beat that, which is great, which means this is technically the best women's match in the history of WrestleMania, which is brilliant. What rating did I give it? 3 stars. You lot may crap on me because you may think, oh, you put a spot fest over this. I felt the storytelling needed more, I felt the crowd needed more, I felt the move variety needed a little bit more spicing, and the botches didn't help, and the sloppiness didn't help. I felt the pacing could have been more finessed a bit better. But overall, it just needed tweaking to go into 3.5-star territory. I would have happily put it there, if not for the problems that this match did inevitably have on my viewing. If you're going to crap on me for this decision, go right ahead. I am a critic, you are people listening and watching or whatever. You have the right to critique my opinion here, just like I have the right to critique yours. But the thing is, this match did a lot right, but it didn't do enough right for it to go into a territory where I know the women's matches have been in recent times. If it had gotten through all the sloppiness and all of the pacing issues, it could have gotten to 3.5 stars, but it didn't. And I may get some flack, but that's just how it's going to be, I'm afraid. Next, we get to the match that, in my opinion, should have main evented the show, because once this match came in, I knew where this pay-per-view was going to go from here, and I can safely say I was disappointed in that regard, but the match wasn't as bad as people say. The Undertaker defeated Shane McMahon in the Hell in a Cell match. Now, this is a little difficult to review because while it wasn't the most entertaining to watch, it's one of those matches like Brock Lesnar versus Taker at WrestleMania 30, where you have to really start picking apart the match to really understand how good it actually was. Because I had a go at a lot of the fans for chanting, "This is awesome," because of the spot we're going to talk about a bit later. And that's annoying. But nonetheless, let's take a look at this. The psychology got a 3, and I love that they built tension to start with, as no one really knew what was going to happen. Shane and Taker just threw some punches at each other. It's slowly building momentum. I liked that. Shane got little of it, though, as Taker used his strength to dominate, as I would expect. But I would have liked to have seen him actually beat the crap out of him with the steps, throw him into the cell a bit more. That was what I was missing from this one, because it really felt like the opening 10, 15 minutes was flat as hell, and it didn't come through nicely. A pin caused Shane to break a lovely Goga platter, which is lovely. Taker missing the elbow to the steps, as Shane's age played into factor there, which was great. And this happened throughout. Shane just begged Taker for more, going, you know what? I DDT'd you on the steps, I nearly pinned you, you're old, come on man, I know you're worth more than this, bring on more punishment, because that's what Shane McMahon does, everybody. He is a tough son of a bitch, and he will show it to you, and then some. Then we get Taker kicking out of the coast-to-coast pin. I understand he lifted the trash can away from him, so it wasn't a full impact. I can see that Taker was trying to protect himself and thinking, you know what, it can hit me, but sir, you didn't do it properly, because I am a bit more wily than that. That was a subtle cue that may have been a slight botch, but I don't care, because it delivered something. Then we had Shane breaking the side off, with Taker ramming him through it. Can't go wrong with the intensity now. These two are getting frustrated. They're going to different avenues to try and win. I will give plaudits there. Then we have Taker beating down Shane with the monitor, reminiscent of last week's Raw, with Taker willing to risk his own body being stuck in a sleeper hold to put Shane through the table. The thing is, though, that didn't stop Shane, though, as he came up and hit with a monitor shot. And then we get the big one. The big one. That cell spot. The cell jump. The one question I have to say after that is how the hell was Shane even moving? He didn't move after jumping off the Unforgiven 2003 Titantron. He wasn't moving for long after jumping onto the Big Show at King of the Ring 2001. I mean, seriously. How he was even crawling up Taker's legs, I have no clue. No clue, and it kind of made my suspension of disbelief break, because that was annoying. And sure, Taker returned the taunting gesture upon realizing that, yeah, you still got enough in you, pal. Hit the tombstone to finish it. Inevitably, that I probably should have expected this match to go this way, but there we go, it did not. I felt that it was lacking some body selling, and in the early going especially, and it definitely was missing blood. This needed intensity. Considering that Taker bled last week, I needed some here. It didn't do it. I felt that the story was building ever slowly, but when I tell you how long this match lasted, you'll be surprised they didn't do more with it. But I will give Shane credit for destroying himself, and Taker for being resilient enough to ensure he can get the victory, because that's exactly what I think Vince would have wanted. But speaking of which, why wasn't Vince out here? That would have added even more to the psychology, but I digress. The move variety. The Shane Goga Platter was great. The chokeslam on the steps by Taker, also great. The DDT on the steps by Shane, great. Shane reversing the Hell's Gate into the sharpshooter. Can't go wrong with that. I don't see a sharpshooter from Shane often. The sleeper getting counted into the table was good. The toolbox I forgot to mention that Shane was using. Brilliant. But the thing is, that was only a 2.5 at that point. These little moves were just gradually bringing it up a little. Then the cell jump happened, and yeah, that is a spot I will give a whole 1 extra to. This got a 3.5 predominantly because of that spot. That spot was insane. To the point where my jaw was on the floor because I could see it coming, but I didn't think that Taker would move. I knew it was going to happen, I just didn't know when, and I didn't expect Taker to roll out of the way. That just shows you, ladies and gentlemen, how crazy some spots are, and inevitably this area wouldn't be up there if it wasn't for that. That's all I can say. Then, ladies and gentlemen, we get to the match length and pacing, which was a 3. No, match length and pacing, screw that. We get to the crowd, which was a 2, and the crowd was a bit indifferent here. I've already mentioned I hated them chanting "This is awesome" after the panel spot, and then the spot from the cell, because they were indifferent for 15 to 20 minutes of this entire match. And I say that with good reason. They were indifferent. They were waiting for that spot. They knew it was coming, and they were wanting to preserve their energy to mark out as stated. And I was a very disappointed man. I wanted to see more heat into what these guys were doing. The crowd were not invested until the hardcore action spilled out like many expected it to. And without any interference, they didn't pop like they really should have for a lot of it, and I really was disappointed. But I will give credit for the tease for the coast to coast, the pops for the table spots, and of course Shane climbing the cell and then losing it for the spot. I will give credit where it's due, but not much, because they needed to do a lot more there to make this worth it. Then we get to the match length and pacing, which was a 3. Now I will give Taker and Shane credit. They brawled to start, which wasn't as aggressive as I would like, but momentum was shifting well for a match of this magnitude, which was good. The technical wrestling wore them out, and the spots technically killed one of them, which for pacing's sake, it amped up unusually, but for the adrenaline's sake, I'll give it credit. The match lasted a long time, which I expected it to, and it paced itself out methodically due to it, which is great, which is why the rating is as is. The thing is, ladies and gentlemen, this was a 30-minute match. It didn't bloody feel like it, and that was when I looked at the timing and was realizing, wow, this match only really climaxed in the last 10 minutes. And it was at this point I thought they were building up nicely, and the payoff was great. But I didn't feel the pace really gave the match some justice. I would have expected the pace to be starting off a little fast, and then go into methodical pace from there on. But I wasn't expecting Shane to just keep going, to make the pacing a little faster when he really should have been selling like a motherfucker. That's what I was hoping for, but the thing is, this match lasting 30 minutes, it was a bit of an illusion. It could have been 20. It didn't need to be 30. They could have easily sped things up a little and made it much more enjoyable on my end. And like I've said, my enjoyment this match is a little bit hard to rate, because I look at this match and say it was a good, solid match that was amped up by a good amount of storytelling and move variety that shocked out of the every single area you could find, right? The thing is, this match is like Lesnar versus Taker, as I've already mentioned at WrestleMania 30. It's subtly symbolic, subtly highlighting story elements, and inevitably showing both these men as still willing to fight on despite their old age. It was an entertaining match to a degree, because I didn't see what was coming in a lot of areas. It surprised me more than it should. It was too long considering itself, but it was still a very entertaining match, despite how poor the crowd were for most of it. I felt that it definitely delivered. Like, I would say, Mick Foley versus Undertaker at King of the Ring 98. It wasn't a masterpiece, but it delivered the drama that we would expect from a match like this. It delivered on the story it was trying to portray. Shane didn't win, but he risked life and limb to make sure that he tried. And you know what? I can't give him any more. I didn't like the fact that Taker won, but I can respect it. Ladies and gentlemen, this may get some controversy as well, but I will give this a solid 3-star rating, because it delivered in quite a few ways where I knew it could do. And honestly, it kept me on my toes, because we knew what was coming. And I can't go wrong with a match while being slightly flat, keeping me interested. Which wasn't the same for the main event. But we'll get to that later. We still have a few more matches to get through. Now, we get to a match that should have been on the pre-show, but was actually on the main card, because reasons. The Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royale, won by Baron Corbin of NXT. Yes, he goes from losing to Austin Aries at TakeOver Dallas to winning a big match like this. I didn't see it coming. Well played. Nonetheless, psychology was a 2. Primarily from Corbin winning, of course, giving his rookie status, and no one would have given him a prayer if this was a real sport, because there were legends in there who were massive. The thing is, where does the rest of the psychology come from? Well, it comes from one man and one man only, Shaquille O'Neal. Yes, because he arrived in this match, and I'm thinking, finally! How many years has it been since Shaq and Big Show had that stare down? How long has it been? when he was guest hosting Raw, staring down Big Show. I thought they were going to have a match at WrestleMania 28 and all would be good. They didn't have it, and I'm royally pissed. I still was royally pissed. So seeing Shaq here was mesmerizing, and seeing them stare down and have a go at each other was brilliant. You cannot deny how happy I was for the psychology there. And then, of course, they both got eliminated together because everyone realized, oh dear God, these guys are huge. And I've not seen Shaq for quite a while because I don't follow basketball, but that guy is freaking massive, if I'm not mistaken, right? That guy is bigger than 7'2". This guy is freaking gigantic. Happily, it took everyone else to eliminate them, which was lovely. And the social outcasts being eliminated one by one in different aspects was great, showing that unity does not work in a battle royal, ladies and gentlemen. The move variety, there wasn't anything I could really say about, so it gets a 1. 1.5 for the crowd reaction because they popped for the surprise entrances and Corbin's victory. That's all I can say. Enough said. The match length and pacing... what do I say about this one? It went under 10 minutes, which I expected it to, which was okay. I felt that it was a battle royal. It went a little too fast in the early eliminations, and it could have done a little more with highlighting some of them, because it didn't really slow down this match at all. Because I like a good battle royal to slow down and show the draining energy it's taken for a person to survive this long. Corbin's win, just by throwing Kane out at the end randomly, when he didn't get a good stare down against the monster, was annoying. But then again, what more can I say? This match was put together on the card for no reason when it really should have been on the pre-show, but with Shaquille O'Neal in there? Maybe they were right to put it on the card, who knows? My enjoyment was amped up a little more because not only did we have Corbin in there, not only did we have Shaq in there, but we had DDP as well. I marked out like mad, and I noticed they had Tatanka in there. I know he's just recently signed a Legends contract, but I didn't expect him to be in the match. Damn. Overall, this match actually did a lot more than I was expecting it to, but it isn't as good as the first one was. And it's not as good as the one on the pre-show was last year that I didn't even rate, because at least that one had the Miz story going into it that really made that match special. And this one didn't have anything between Goldust and R-Truth playing off either, which I expected it to. And overall, it was a very solid, okay match, but it wasn't anything to shout about. I could be cruel and give it 3/4 of a star, but I'm not in the mood for that. The match was actually somewhat entertaining despite what little happened, and it had a little bit of psychology, some crowd reaction and some pacing and a bit of length to help it across the line. It is a 1-star match, but only just, ladies and gentlemen, just like the New Day League of Nations match. It needed a little more to certify that place, but it did just enough to be in my good books. Next, ladies and gentlemen, the worst match of the night. And yes, I am counting it as an official match, because if it's on the Wikipedia page, if it's on the Internet Wrestling Database as an official match result, I have to give it. The only match that was unannounced on this show, The Rock defeating Eric Rowan in 6 seconds before him and John Cena decimated the Wyatt family afterwards. Now, I'm not a fan of this segment, because it was a massive time waster where half of it could have easily been put onto the Ambrose-Lesnar match. I was still complaining about that. And the thing is, okay, I get it. Rock's a big star. He's there to come back and make history. I wasn't expecting him to just... I wasn't expecting him to do anything more than that. But, to announce the bloody attendance and then get into a quick-fire match like this, the match was crap. 6 seconds means nothing to me, and seeing the Wyatt family getting beaten down and thrown apart after 2 big spots at the last 2 WrestleManias, they need to give Wyatt some momentum, for God's sake. He could have at least won the Battle Royal like I originally wanted it to be, but no. The thing is, ladies and gentlemen, this match was ridiculous. An unannounced match at WrestleMania? This is the one time you don't want an unannounced match to happen. Look at WrestleMania 27 if you don't think I'm right about that. The match between the Core and the Apple faction, led by Santino Marella, was made the day before the show and was put on the card before Bryan and Sheamus was. This match right here had no foundation to be on the card at all. It didn't deserve to be on the card at all. And it gets a 0. The match was utter crap. And it doesn't... Vince, Shane, Stephanie, Triple H, Kevin Dunn, whoever the hell is in charge, listen to me. In the future, do not put an unannounced match on your biggest show of the year, because it's going to rate the whole damn card down. A 0 will hurt the damn rating. This is an official match. If it was a brawl, when it wasn't a match like the Ronda Rousey thing we had last year, I would have been fine, because it wasn't a match. It was a confrontation. Therefore, it doesn't factor into the damn event's overall rating. But my God, you had to get The Rock in the ring. He's filming Baywatch. He's doing movies. He couldn't be in a feud going in, which is why we didn't see the Triple H match. But this match annoyed me so much. But you have no idea what I was thinking when I said, oh, it couldn't get any worse. Then we got to the main event. And that's where shit really did hit the fan. And speaking of that main event, Roman Reigns defeated Triple H to win the World Heavyweight Championship. Where do I start with this? Oh yeah, the one point that I'm most critical of, the crowd reaction. This, I'm not going to critique the fans on this one, okay? You have the right to boo, because last year, Reigns got booed and had it turned into cheers because of his testicular fortitude and the psychology of the match. Not this time, because WWE, they did something that I hate, and it is one thing I don't want them to do. The crowd were hostile from bell to bell. And that is okay by me. But to have the crowd have their mics turned down to make them quiet, which makes the match look like it has no atmosphere, and then you up the commentary volume to mask it even more. I was okay with the crowd reaction, having been told by Rico, it is loud boos here. There is nothing here but loud boos. And I would have been fine because it would have generated a Colosseum atmosphere. Isn't that what they were going for? Isn't it what they were going for? To have the plucky lion up against the gladiator, the king of kings, the man who is standing in the Colosseum with his wife on a damn throne beforehand. This would have been great, because it means they're booing the fucking lion. They want the gladiator to boo, to put the thumbs down and slaughter it. That was what the fans wanted. They hyped this up as a Colosseum. Why not play that into the story? Why not play it into the story and react at the end realizing, oh God, the lion has torn open the damn gladiator? That would have been perfect to build this match. But no, they tried to mask it. Are you kidding me? I mean, as a fan, as a critic, as a reviewer, I was watching this in disgust because they took away the natural aura of a big match feeling that this needed. I mean, at least last year they had the psychology to back it up and make it into something great, but this, they ruined this match. They ruined this match because they wanted Reigns to go over. And I have no problem with Reigns winning because it made sense for the story, but as Shane won earlier in the night, I didn't expect it to go this way, but the crowd was the main reason this match will probably be lower than it should be. But let's look at a positive before I lose my voice here. The psychology was a 2.5. I will give credit for this match actually trying to tell a decent story here. Reigns getting his head slapped and fighting back early on was nice. Roman doing the DX chop to taunt Triple H was lovely. Triple H going to shatter Reigns' face on the table was good, but Reigns rebounded and did the same. It was kind of slowly building. Then we got the Fujiwara armbar on the arm that Triple H worked on earlier in the match by doing those arm twists to stop a potential spear or Superman punch. He hit multiple Fujiwara armbars, locking it in. He then hit cross arm breakers. But the thing is, the psychology was going really well until Roman Reigns decided to lift Triple H out of it. Both times. With a fucked up arm. I'm sorry, but my suspension of disbelief gets lost when you've had your arm in 2 different arm locks for a good period of at least 6 to 7 minutes. You are not going to lift a guy. Seriously, he had a Fujiro armbar locked in while the other arm was being stretched. This is ridiculous. Anyway, I will give Reigns some credit, because he did sell the arm, holding it near his chest, holding the wrist tons. At least he sold this, and I can give him credit. Then Stephanie got speared. Of course, Stephanie pulled the referee out to cause the distraction, which caused that to happen in the first place. I am not a person who condones man-on-woman violence or even woman-on-man violence, because domestic violence is wrong. But if you have to have it for storyline purposes, this works. Can't go wrong with it. And of course, I had to criticise Roman again, this is why it's not a 3, by spearing Triple H the first time with the injured shoulder. Sorry, that ain't gonna happen for me. That's not good enough. You missed that one. You rectified it for the last spear that won you the match, though, so credit due. But yeah, as you can see, the match had decent psychology. Can't go wrong. Move variety was a 1.5, and it was mostly through the spinning neckbreaker off the table. Triple H did good there. The knee off the top rope by Triple H was also the knee off the second rope on... No, fuck it. On from the top rope onto the second rope was great too. The spear through the barricade was also nice, but we've seen it too many times. It lost its impact, which explains the 1.5 there. I've already mentioned the crowd. I don't need to do any more. The pace, the match length was a 2. I didn't want this to be methodical. I wanted this to be a brawl, a fight. The aggression should have been in from the get-go to allow Triple H to take control later on and apply the methodical notion that allowed the psychology of the arm work to come into play. That is what happened with Kurt Angle and Triple H at the Royal Rumble 2001, and that is why that match worked so well, because it paced itself well. The match was way too slow off the bat. They were too tense off the bat. They were too intense and going mad midway through. And this is where it takes a nosedive, because the momentum should not be this fluid, especially considering that this match was 27 minutes. Every time Triple H did an attack, Reigns had another attack straight up. He got thrown over the announce table, and then 20 seconds later, Reigns spears him through the barricade. He was no-selling. And there was no way that Reigns should have been able to do this. And even though the match went a long period of time, which is where most of this rating comes from, the pacing was completely wrong. And it ruined, again, along with the crowd and the way they were controlled by the studio in the back. This is ridiculous. And I look at this match and say, at least they tried. But they should have played to the crowd. They should have at least done bigger things. They should have been paced better. This match had the potential to be something amazing. And then when you top it off all thinking about it, there were no swerves. There were no heel turns. There were no big surprises. We all said going in that if Roman Reigns leaves AT&T Cowboy Stadium lifting that championship, people are going to be pissed. And they have been. People have been rating this one of the worst WrestleManias of all time because of the main event alone. Ridiculous. And, ladies and gentlemen, the match, despite its psychological benefits, is nowhere near as good as it could have been. And I'm going to have to give it a 1-star rating because everything else just did not add up. This was a missed opportunity, and WWE, I don't want to see you control the crowd like you did last night ever again. Because seriously, you ruined what would have been a great match if you would have left it the exact same. Now, onto my final thoughts. As you can probably tell from the internet, from your friends, from anyone out there who has watched this show, a lot of them will say that the main event has made this alone one of the worst WrestleManias, if not the worst WrestleMania of all time. I will say to all those people who are complaining, who are furiously typing at their keyboards, you are idiots. Really, you are absolute idiots. If you think that this WrestleMania is one of the worst ever, because of one match result, you need to have your head checked, because that is not how to do constructive criticism. And I understand you're annoyed with how the match went. You're annoyed with how everything played out. How people didn't win in matches they should have, which for me happened the entire night. I understand it. It was poorly booked, poorly structured, and had bad timing all over the place. But the thing is, ladies and gentlemen, when it came to the in-ring action, some psychology, some storytelling, and getting the crowd invested as an entertaining product, this event actually delivered on it. And that is surprising. You see, for me, this event, from a critical standpoint, didn't live up to my expectations, but watching it, it was entertaining as hell. And when you balance those two out, it isn't that bad a show. Sure, it isn't as good as WrestleMania 30 or WrestleMania 31, which are, in my opinion, two of the greatest WrestleManias there has ever been. I understand it's not up to those lofty expectations, but just because it didn't reach those expectations doesn't necessarily mean it is awful. It's not WrestleMania 29 bad, because that's 3.25 out of 10. That was quite awful, because nothing good came out of that event, even on the smallest smidgen. And the thing is, ladies and gentlemen, I look at this card and say to myself, okay, it delivered somewhat. We had quite a few 3-star matches in here. In fact, we had the Divas Triple Threat, the Hell in a Cell, the Styles Jericho match, getting 3 stars apiece. We even had the damn ladder match getting a 4. I mean, this looks great. I mean, sure, I am going to tell you right now, the rest of this card didn't go around 2-star, roughly. One of them disappointed, and the other roughly around 1-star. And if it wasn't for that 0, if it wasn't for that damn 0, this pay-per-view could have been above average for me. You see, WrestleMania did exactly what it needed to do. It provided big moments, it provided big match results that I didn't see coming, mind you, which is good for unpredictability on my end. And inevitably, it proved to be an entertaining product with 2 people watching with me. That is good enough for me. I got my money's worth for that. But the thing is, ladies and gentlemen, this card could have been so much more. The three matches that didn't do well could have been better. Ambrose versus Lesnar could have been way better. And this pay-per-view could have been way up there in terms of good WrestleManias. But the thing is, when it's got a 0 with Rock involved, I can't be satisfied enough. You see, the main event was ruined. I will agree, they made the wrong decisions. But then again, the whole pay-per-view is not going to be soured by me for that, because the rest of it was pretty solid. And if that's all I can take from WrestleMania, where its major downfall was not really booking things properly, that's not a bad thing. And even with the 0, it doesn't dampen this card. WrestleMania 32 is going to be looked back on as much more solid than a lot of you are giving it grief for right now. For me, it was well done for the most part in ring, but they got lots of little things wrong that really hampered the event's credibility and the event's quality overall. Could it have gone higher than a 7? Possibly not. But for me, ladies and gentlemen, WrestleMania 32 is just slightly above average. It's not the best WrestleMania that I've ever seen, by quite a long shot. But it's a little bit better than some of the WrestleManias I've seen in quite a way back, looking back at previous ones. Because a lot of WrestleManias average out usually between a 3 and a 5 normally. This one averaged around just higher than that. And inevitably for me, that's all I can ask for. It got above a 5 out of 10. And for me, I'm going to rate overall WrestleMania 32 a respectable 5.75 out of 10. Or do I really want to rate it a 6? You know what? Because there's 3 3-star matches and a 4-star on it, and only 1 match below 0, I'm going to give it benefit of the doubt. I will give it a 6 out of 10. It may not feel like it, but with over 8, 9 matches on this card, half of which delivered, I have to give it the credit it deserves. WrestleMania 32 may not go down as a barnstormer, and it may feel slightly underwhelming at times, but in terms of the in-ring action and the stories that some of them told, it delivered what it could. And for a company that's been stricken with injuries and a depleted roster the likes we've never seen before, and getting a 6 out of 10 without any massive surprises and swerves and shocks outside of possibly that cell bump. This shows the quality of the current roster and team, that they can get a 6 out of 10 out of me. That's impressive. I'll give them all the credit in the world for that. That being said, though, they need to make the Royal Rumble winner and the WrestleMania main event next year something we can all cheer, because I'm getting sick of going into WrestleMania feeling uneasy because the crowd would do something like they did last night. And that is boo the crap out of your main event from bell to bell. At the moment, it's the candidate for worst on-screen moment of the year. Come on, WWE. You've got all year to do something worse than that. But inevitably, the event did well. Just about. And I will give all the credit in the world for it being as entertaining as it was. Whew! Holy crap. This review, ladies and gentlemen, has gone well over an hour. Do I care? Obviously not, because it's WrestleMania and the analysis is necessary. Ladies and gentlemen, WrestleMania 32 review is out of the way and done. I hope you've all enjoyed. And if you have any position to disagree with me on, let me have it. Give me all of your negative comments, because I know I'm going to get them. Stick your comment in the comment section. I cannot wait to hear what you guys think, although I know some of you are already a little angry. I know some of you aren't, because you have a good sense of mind about you, and you know not to crap on an event for one match. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, I will be doing video reviews, no predictions, of all the pay-per-views going through the year, and unlike today, there will be a blog post following it too, and you can keep that going throughout the year. And if you want to keep up with all my wrestling analysis and reviews, including Friday Flashbacks, which will be returning after taking a month hiatus, they're going to be coming back this month. All's good. And if you want to see all that, click the subscribe button down there and you'll get all of those videos into your inbox and feed once they are done. And you know what? Also, a cheeky like wouldn't be too bad either, because it's taken a while for me to record this and it's well worth getting it out of the way. Ladies and gentlemen, WrestleMania season is done for another year, but of course, by the time this goes up, probably, Raw would have already aired, which means, hopefully, we might end up having some more surprises to talk about going into the next pay-per-view, whether that be Extreme Rules or Payback. We may not have had the results that we really wanted to bring things forward, but that's going to really test WWE in seeing how they surprise us from here. And I can't wait, actually. That should be fantastic. I have been Freddie Thomas, you have been people listening. This has been the WrestleMania 32 results and review for the CC Network. And Fabe, Rico, Regina, anyone else I know who was out there in Dallas last night, I hope it was worth the trip. Because watching at home, maybe I would have enjoyed being there just a little more. Maybe I would have liked the event more. But I'll tell you now, a 6 out of 10 ain't bad, that is for sure. I will see you all next time. And until then, cheers!